Black Righteousness Chapter 10 Part 2, Tallulah, Louisiana. Wanyenyekevu stopped as his stomach was growling. Hold on. They? And where's Adams Street? I don't remember seeing that behind me. Too much information at one time.
Go west, he heard Mletzi's voice in the distance. Wanyenyekevu started walking, and he stood in front of South Chestnut Street. Just for a moment, the woods in front of him changed.
Structures appeared before him. Cross Keys Bank, he said to himself. A bank.
He continued to walk, and a particular structure would appear and disappear.
Cooties, Tallulah Motor Supply?
Trying to remember the street names and some landmarks, besides he would spend the next 90 days here, he needed to know how to get around, but he was uncertain what was the present and what was an echo of time. Confused by the time, he came close to some old railroad tracks and stopped.
Let's see how this works. Show me.
He started toying with the echoes to see which was which. Bloom's, he said aloud.
Stop. It was an ice cream parlor. Fast forward. It was an inside strip mall. Fast forward and there was a sign that said,
George Wall's Grocery.
He repeated, rewind. Rewind. Rewind?
Mudding water had surrounded him, and it was coming fast. Quickly, he said, fast forward. After a few seconds, a newspaper had flew in his face with the year, 1927. He shouted, stop. He repeatedly shouted fast forward, until he read a sign that said, Bloom's Apartments. He stood there for 30 minutes, playing with the echoes until he could understand them. Crossing the railroad tracks, he was happy to see the street sign, Adams Street. His mouth watered as he smelled the aroma, and seeing the campsite just up ahead. He shouted for joy as he ran and opened the pot.
Chicken and dumplings lightly mixed with green beans and carrots, loca here.
Loca here.
He said out loud. Wanyenyekevu took a seat and began eating, when he spotted two young boys, about 9 or 10.
A structure appeared made out of some kind of material he had never seen before with a metal roof. There were signs around it, and a large red ball was on its side with cursive lettering with the word, Coca-Cola.
Wanyenyekevu got up and walked to the building.
Mr. Pete's Grocery, a sign posted outside the building. Curious, he tried to open the door, and the door opened to his surprise. There were the two boys with the red wagon filled with glass bottles with Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, and RC written on them. An elderly man said to the boys, that'll be $20. One of the boys said, Ande, that's $10 apiece.
Andrew replied, yeah.
With a smile on his face. Ah, man, Larry, let's go to George Wall's and buy some firecrackers. Larry counted his money and excitedly, saying, okay. I'll race you there. Wanyenyekevu, with a smile on his face inwardly, laughed at the two boys enjoying themselves, as they ran up the street. He followed them until he got back to his campsite.
From a distance, he hears them comparing and trading their snacks.
I'll give you 1 sugar baby and 2 planks for a moon pie, said Andrew.
Okay, said Larry. I'll give 3 windmill cookies and 2 Kool-Aid straws for a Babe Ruth. The two boys faded down the road.
Wanyenyekevu had just finished his meals and packed up his backpack when he saw the boys returning more excited than before. Wanyenyekevu said to himself as he took out his notepad to take notes on how to get around this small town, I'll follow them for a while. The two boys headed north on Adams Street and made a left on West Craig Street, where they stopped on the corner of West Craig Street and Harding. They walked onto a porch and started separating their fireworks. What y'all doing, making all that noise on my Gary?
Andrew shouted back, it's me and Larry Big Ma. Big Ma came to the door. Y'all done take that noise somewheres else, y'all gonna make my cake drop, this house shakes when y'all shake.
Y'all gone somewheres else with that noise and shaking. As she goes into the house, you can hear her say,
if these cakes done dropped, I'm gonna whoop both y'all tails.
The boys shouted, okay. As they quickly gathered up their things, headed north on Harding, and made a quick left on West Darrow Street.
Ruby! Shouted Larry, me and Ande. Ruby interrupted him. You and Andra, go and get me some press ham and cheese, some light bread, and some of those Ritz crackers from Yellowhammer. Andrew said, where's we gonna put our stuff at? We don't want Dexter messing with our firecrackers until we come back. Ruby said, y'all put that stuff on the table, till y'all get back, Dexter ain't gonna mess with that shit, gone now, and hurry back. Oh, and grab me a can of snuff and a box of starch, in the red box. Andra, make sure y'all get that red box. Tell Bowman to put it on my tab till next week. Oh, go ahead and get $1 worth of hog-head cheese for Newt. The boys put their bags on the kitchen table and ran out the door. Wanyenyekevu left his belonging at the house and chased after the boys. He felt the excitement as they did. Taking notes as they headed west into a curve and made a right on Pecan Street, then left on Bozeman Street until they came to a white building on West Craig Street. As they returned, they saw Rosemarie at the house with Ruby. Andra, you and Larry James need to hurry up with that press ham. Me and Chuck are hungrier than two fat ladies waiting on their food stamps at the end of the month. Larry laughed and said, hey, Rory. Wanyenyekevu was laughing unto tears as he hung around them. Wanting to know more, Wanyenyekevu said, fast forward. He was so entertained with them that he stayed around for 3 weeks, fast-forwarding and rewinding their time echoes. He wrote the names down of the people he encountered. Ruby, Elsie, Blue, Dexter, Pam, Dee, Susie, Odell, and so many more. They had surnames like Reynolds, Bolin, Roach, Moore, Turner, and Atkins. One day, as he was studying his scroll, he jumped up, and to his surprise, he had been surrounded by his descendants all this time and didn't even know it. On that same day, a woman came to Ruby's house. She looked familiar, and he stopped what he was doing to listen in. Ruby! The woman shouted as she knocked on the door. Ruby opened the door. Hey, Cat, what ya yelling and screaming about? Cat said, take me to the bait shop, I just ran into a little chunk of change. I'll buy you your Miller High Life, and I want me some 15-year-old, old charter. Ruby smiled, well, shit, hold on girl. Let me go put on some shoes. The women entertained Wanyenyekevu as he looked on and laughed as they began to drink and listen to music. He was curious about these two and wondered who this new woman was, so he followed her home. After a few time echoes, he realized she was his great-great-aunt, Catherine Roach, who lived nearby on the corner of University and North Madison Street. He played with the time echoes for a bit longer until he was on University and Weiss Street. There, on the corner, stood a greenhouse with an enormous yard. Nervous for the first time, he realized this was his great-grandmother's house through which she was the descendant of Adam. Catherine Bolin, Eagle Child, or Behitha's great-granddaughter. Wanyenyekevu stood there. Oh, Catherine with a C, was named after her mother, Catherine, with a K, Cat. Then Wanyenyekevu said rewind. Suddenly, a young man was outside at the back door holding Behitha's eyes closed with both hands. Watch your step now. Don't look, Mama. The young man said as they reached the bottom of the stairs. Now, open them, as he walked in front of her. What the hell is it? She said. He placed his foot on a pedal, an electric clothesline now. You don't have to walk around the yard to hang the clothes on the line. You just put the clothes on the line. As he illustrated, and press this pedal until you come across more space to hang some more clothes. She looked at it for a moment. What if it's raining, Willie? You trying to electrocute me? The young man laughed. Nah, Mama. I didn't think of that. Wanyenyekevu felt someone grab his crotch. He grabbed the hand while simultaneously turning around and saw a beautiful woman with seductive eyes smiling. Hey, handsome. The woman said as she grabbed one of her breasts and licked it. You like? Wanyenyekevu took a step back as he noticed this woman was naked and stood 6 foot tall. Her vagina was vast and bushy, and from her ankles downward was the body of a snake that stretched about 10 feet long. In the middle of the tail, it changed colors, and at the other end, there was a man who was the same height, and they both hovered 3 inches off the ground. She slithered towards her other half, and the man said, No, succubus, I think he prefers this. He grabbed his penis and rubbed the head of his penis.
This creature was handsome with a muscular build and whose penis was long enough to touch his knees and about 7 inches thick in girth.
He continued to speak.
This young man needs something that can make his toes curl up.
Wanyenyekevu took out his samurai but remembered what Yael had said and put it away. Wanyenyekevu said to them, "What is this?" The woman said,
"I'm succubus, and this is my twin brother, incubus. You can have one of us." An incubus, with his baritone voice, interrupted, saying, "Or the both of us."
Wanyenyekevu said, "I have a wife to be." "No, thank you."
Succubus laid down on the grass while rubbing her clitoris. She said, "Crawl on in here and come take this for a test spin. I'm sure you'll like it."
Wanyenyekevu himself began getting an erection and said with authority, "No thanks, I'll wait for my wife. I prefer love over lust." Incubus said, "Wife? I can't tell. I see you got yourself a hard-on."
He headed toward Wanyenyekevu and wrapped around him, "That husband and wife shit is going to be a thing of the past, thanks to us. We are making hoes and extra hoes only, there will be no such thing as a housewife."
He laughed. "Just hoes."
As he continued, "For your people, yes, your people, here on this side of the globe, we had to put special plans in place for you all.
You see, we started with slavery, and we put it in the minds of your slave masters to make your penis and vagina larger and bigger, even larger titties, through breeding techniques we gave them, and they started having orgies, and that alone introduced porn. We seduced them to seduce and rape your people as the years passed, and for those on the other side of the globe, we devised a different plan for those tar babies." Wanyenyekevu said to himself, "Gradualism."
Incubus continued as he was rubbing on Succubus's breast.
"Are you sure you don't want just a little of this?" Wanyenyekevu said. "What is it that you want from me? I have no intention of doing anything with a demon."
Succubus became angry. "You won't, but your people will. Even now, they have us as their spirit husbands and wives. They cannot and will not be faithful to anyone but us.
Sure, they will have sex, and they can have sex.
We don't give a damn, the more, the merrier, but marriage, no, they belong to us." Incubus interrupted, "Many will only be able to get along with each other only during sex and sex only. They will incur cervical cancer, HIV/AIDS, and other incurable diseases. These will spread among them, and even new diseases will only be created and spread among your people." They both said as if they were singing a song.
"Just a whole lot of fucking going on."
Succubus laughed, "We will do this while they sleep. Everyone got to sleep. We will cause people to rape your children at an early age, and your children will run to the same sex for comfort. And your men, we will feminize them, and your women shall be masculine to the point that they will not populate anymore, but they will be highly indulged in sexual activities with each other.
Hoes, just hoes, more hoes, everywhere."
Incubus and Succubus laughed at Wanyenyekevu and began having sex with each other as he stood there. Wanyenyekevu became immensely angered by the statements and actions of the two, and he called on Shika. "Shika, son of Sabaoth, I am but a man and have no power against such a creature.
I call on your name and your power." Wanyenyekevu pointed to the demons, "In the name of my Redeemer and Savior, in the name of Shika, I rebuke you."
The two had quickly disappeared.